This is a Marconi SMR-3 communications receiver from about 1941. This was used on Canadian Navy ships around that time. It wasn't in production for very long. It's not a particularly sophisticated circuit, and it used an external power supply. And the power supply was missing, so I made a power supply out of an old computer power supply for the set. Provides two different HT voltages and 6.3 volts AC for the heater circuitry. It's been fully restored by myself, and I've left some of the sort of original features in there that kind of they look a little bit tatty, like this label in the lead. Somebody's scratched out the relay because the relay's transmit receive relay is missing, and they've done a little bit of annotation on here, antenna connection and so on, but I'm okay with that. It's not for me. This is for the guy who owns this set. Used to be in the Navy and he's keen to have one of these sets restored. The set's got a full complement of new tubes, and it's been fully restored under the chassis as well. The capacitors have all been replaced. I've either restuffed the originals, or where the originals have been replaced previously, I made reproductions to blend in with the original look of the set. Same with the resistors, and I replaced some of the wiring that had been replaced with PVC wiring. The set had the tuning eye taken out and an S meter put in there, so I reversed that modification. Stripped the cabinet, completely refinished the cabinet, dial escutcheon, but more or less the rest of it is original. So in terms of performance, it's not the best performing communications receiver. It's got one RF stage, two IF stages. It's got one or two interesting features. It's got amplified AGC. It's got a variable noise limiter, which is quite effective. And it used to cover from the low frequency bands down about 90 kilohertz or thereabouts up to 30 megahertz. But somebody modified this that butchered the coils in bands 5 and 6 to make it work on the broadcast bands, because this didn't work across the broadcast band. The IF frequency is 575 kilohertz, and so it now tunes down to 600 kilohertz, which is only 25 kilohertz off the IF frequency. So there's one or two images start to appear down at this bottom end of the band. But it actually works. It aligned quite well on those bands. I was quite surprised. And the other band alignment is reasonably okay too. Sensitivity is not great. It more or less meets specifications, certainly on the lower bands. On band 1, it's kind of marginal on sensitivity there, but probably never was that good anyway. And there's no reason why it shouldn't meet the original specification. As I say, it's got a full complement of new tubes. It's been fully realigned, and all the components that are important to the operation of the circuitry replaced. So just give you a brief demonstration of the receiver. So it covers 30 megs down to, at the moment, 600 kilohertz. It's on band 1 at the moment, which goes up to 30 kilohertz. There's nothing on those HF bands at the moment. It's very quiet. The receiver's on. You can hear it there in the background. I've got a signal generator tuned to just around about 29 megahertz, so we should be able to pick that up. It's just on a short whip antenna, and the receiver's got a few feet of wire connected to it. There we go. So it's picking up that around about 29 megahertz. Alignment is pretty good. Same on band 2. This goes up to 16 megahertz. So say pick a frequency, I don't know, 14 megahertz there. We tune the signal generator. Yeah, it's on 13.9 now. That's picking it up at 14 megs. So again, similar sensitivity. Band 3 it goes up to 7.5, so we choose 7. Tune down to 7. Picking that up okay. 7 megahertz. On band 4, With these low frequencies, the connection between the signal generator and the antenna, as I say, is just a loose piece of wire. It's not as good. So say 3.4 megs, probably won't pick it up. Oh, it is. I switch the modulation off, switch the BFO on. And below that, if we go into band 5, the broadcast band, there's lots of stations in the broadcast band.
He bought his first dime bag of heroin after not being able to get that's not where your wife is. I have an awesome wife though, and she does above and beyond. Reached several U.S. agencies, including the Department of Justice. We've contributed to success. We're giving away over 10. Vancouver coastal region, some of what they talked about today. We also heard some of the numbers for the past 3 days. Let's go over a bit of what we heard coming up in just a moment here on CFAX 1070. An unprecedented year calls for an unprecedented sale. Francis Jewelers is having a massive moving sale as they expand to new, larger premises.
And band 6, again, not a lot about in band 6. All the controls function as they should. The noise limiter, it distorts the signal a bit, but it is effective on impulse type noise. RF gain control has actually got a bypass switch, this MVC switch. Bypasses the RF gain control, so if the RF gain is turned down and you switch this off, it switches the full RF gain again. AVC, with the AVC off, it starts to block the receiver. So tone control.
What does Santa call holiday appetizers? Snacking stuffers.
And the BFO I showed you earlier. And the phone's output, this is actually a modification as well. The output stage has been modified to take a 6v6 and a regular speaker transformer. The original design was a high impedance auto transformer for high impedance headphones, which the owner didn't want. So there we have it. It's Marconi SMR-3, quite a rare receiver. I was glad to bring this one back to life.